states of fear tonight, Nevada. Come on down where the neon shines, lucky sevens and flashing signs. Raise your glass, let freedom roll. Every dream is worth its weight in gold. Crowds are laughing, music's loud. Kings and queens fill every crowd, but every light casts shadows back. Every road fades into black. Roll the dice, take your chance. The desert's waiting for one last dance. Neon fades to black. Past the lights, there's no way back. Beyond the glow, where cold winds blow, something waits where few will go. 50 states of fear, Nevada's calling loud and clear. Beyond the lights, beyond your sight, the legends on the night. Skyline disappears behind, leaving every dream confined. Ghost towns whisper through the sand, footprints where no one's supposed to stand. Static fills the midnight air, strange lights dancing everywhere. Every mile pulls deeper in, wondering where the truth has been. Pyramid Lake, ancient caves, empty highways. Some legends never left better. Neon fades to black. Every mile another track. The lights are gone, you're all alone. Something knows you're coming home. 50 states of fear, Nevada stories still live here. Ghosts and lights haunt the night until the morning sun appears. Neon fades to black. The desert never gives you back. 50 states of fear, Nevada. The nightmare begins after the neon fades to black.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome to 50 States of Fear, Nevada. I'm your host, Dano, for the evening and for every evening after this. How are you guys doing? How's your weekend been going so far? What's new? What's going on? You guys, tonight we're going to cover 50 States of Fear, Nevada. Hope you guys like that intro. Yeah, what do you guys think? Thumbs up? Thumbs down. What's up, Don? Josie, what's up, everybody? Vince. What's up, Midnight? Kristen, hello. Krista, hello. Wanda, what's up? Jason, what's going on? Everybody liked it. I'm glad. If you don't, let me know. I'll try to switch things up for the next one. Karen, hello. How are you doing? If you guys are new to the channel, new to the chat, drop a 1 in the comments. Let us know where you're watching or listening from. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I'm going to knock this out of the way real quick, you guys. It's the 25th. We got 6 more days for the giveaway, for the membership giveaway. If you'd like to become a member, it's only $2.99 on, well, this coming up next weekend. So the first, actually, I think, first or the second, whatever Saturday is, I'll be doing the giveaway spins for first, second, third place prizes. You guys will not be disappointed. We got stuff from Ally Coffee Roasters. We got stuff from the Partly Cloudy Collective. We got stuff from Rustic Supply Co. And we got stuff from IRC 3D prints. So you guys, we got a bunch of stuff. Who's ready to jump right on in to the show? All right, let's get started, you guys. All right. So, you guys, we're covering 50 states of fear. We are going to cover the Silver State. Now, welcome back, you guys. This series is where we travel across America, one state at a time, exploring the legends, folklore, cryptids, hauntings, the unexplained mysteries that have fascinated people for generations. Tonight, we're headed to the heartland of the American West, a place where endless deserts stretch to the horizons, jagged mountain ranges rise from ancient valleys, ghost towns that sit frozen in time, military secrets that hide behind barbed wire fences, and countless people claim that they've witnessed things that simply shouldn't exist. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Nevada. Now, most people know Nevada for the bright lights of Las Vegas, but once you leave the casinos behind, you discover one of the most mysterious landscapes anywhere in North America. Nearly 85% of the state is public land. Thousands of square miles remain virtually untouched. There are mountain ranges that see only a handful of visitors each year. There are dry lake beds that shimmer beneath an unforgiving sun. Let's not forget the abandoned mines that disappear into the earth for miles. And desert. The desert is so quiet that many people describe them as alive. Now, it's within this isolation that the stories have flourished for centuries. Stories of strange lights, unknown creatures, ghostly miners, lake monsters, and even missing time. And encounters that leave witnesses questioning everything they thought they knew. Some of these tales are rooted in indigenous traditions that have been passed down for generations. Others come from miners, ranchers, military personnel, hunters, and even law enforcement. Now, whether every story is true or not, that really isn't the point. The fact is that so many different people across different decades from different walks of life continue to report extraordinary experiences, and that's what makes Nevada one of the most intriguing states in America. Now, tonight we'll start our journey in northern Nevada at a lake many people believe is one of the most mysterious bodies of water in the United States. We're talking about Pyramid Lake. Pyramid Lake is located about 40 miles northeast of Reno. At first glance, it appears peaceful. Its deep blue waters reflect the surrounding deserts. Towering limestone formations rise from the shoreline, giving the lake its distinctive name. But beneath its beauty lies a place wrapped in mystery. Pyramid Lake sits entirely within the Pyramid Lake Paiute Reservation and has been sacred to the northern Paiutes people for countless generations. Long before Nevada became a state, long before prospectors arrived in search of silver, stories were already being told about the strange powers associated with the waters of Pyramid Lake. Now, one of the best known traditions is that of the water babies. Now, you're asking yourself, what are water babies? I didn't know what water babies were when I first started reading about this, but to many outside the region, the name sounds harmless. They're babies, right? It's almost comforting. But according to the Northern Paiute, the water babies are spiritual beings connected to the lake. Some stories describe them as the spirits of infants. Others portray them as supernatural guardians of the water. There isn't a single version of this legend, but like many oral traditions, the stories have evolved throughout the generations. With different families preserving different details, what remains consistent is the belief that Pyramid Lake deserves deep respect. Many people familiar with the area speak of hearing what sounds like infants crying near the shoreline late at night. Campers have described hearing the sound drift across the waters only to find nothing there. Other reports voices echoing where no people can be seen. Now, whether these experiences are natural acoustics, wildlife, or something more unusual depends on who you ask. For the Paiute people, however, these traditions are part of a cultural history that long predates modern paranormal investigations. Now, this lake has a violent history. Pyramid Lake is marked not only by legend, but also by tragedy. In 1860, tensions between the settlers and the native tribes erupt into what became known as the Pyramid Lake War. The conflict claimed many lives and forever changed the region. Some local historians and paranormal investigators have suggested that places marked by profound loss often become the focus of ghost stories and unexplained experiences. Now, while that idea remains speculative, it has influenced how many visitors interpret unusual events around the lake. Now, beginning in the 20th century and continuing into modern times, visitors have occasionally reported seeing unusual lights above Pyramid Lake. The descriptions vary widely. Some witnesses describe glowing orange or white spheres moving silently across the sky, while others report lights hovering over the water before disappearing without a sound. A few have claimed that the lights appeared to enter or emerge from the lake itself. It's important to note that none of these reports have been conclusively linked to any extraterrestrial activity. Atmospheric conditions, aircrafts, and astronomical phenomenon can explain some sightings, while others remain unidentified simply because there wasn't enough information to determine what their cause was. So, the stories still continue. Now, there's one story. It's called the Fisherman's Story. Now, this account is often repeated among longtime locals involving a fisherman who launched his boat before sunrise. According to the story, the lake was unusually calm. As dawn approached, he noticed a bright light just above the surface of the water several hundred yards away. Now, he assumed it was just maybe another boat. But the light never reflected on the water the way a spotlight should. Instead, it seemed suspended in midair. Now, the witness later recalled that the object remained completely silent, and after several minutes, it accelerated upward and vanished. The story has been shared in regional books and local discussions for years, although it has never been independently verified. Like many stories surrounding Pyramid Lake, it remains part of the area's enduring folklore. Now, whether you view Pyramid Lake through the lens of history, geology, culture, or the paranormal, one thing becomes crystal clear. This is a place that commands respect. For the Northern Paiute people, it is far more than a scenic destination. It's a landscape woven into generations of stories, traditions, and even identity. For visitors, it could be absolutely breathtaking. For investigators, it can be puzzling. And for those who spent enough time along its shores, it's definitely unforgettable. So, what'd you guys think about that one? How am I doing so far? I'm taking like a different approach as I normally would do on the 50 States of Fear. What are you guys thinking? Should I go back to the old way? Or should I continue on with this? Everybody jumping in the chat, thank you so much for jumping in tonight. I'm your host, Dano. If you guys are new for the first time, drop a 1 in the comments. Let us know where you're watching from or listening from. If you haven't already done so, please hit that subscribe button. I am super excited just to see where you guys are listening from. I don't know. I'm kind of, curious, I guess. So, usually when I do my morning live chats, we are talking to people from Australia. We're talking to people from, the UK. Kristen, I know you're from Nebraska, and I hope I did Nebraska pretty good. But whatever's easiest for me. It's all pretty much easy. I just kind of want to bring more to the table for you guys. So, all right. So let's jump into another thing here. Let's see. I heard from Bigfoot that Smallfoot bank balance is a cryptid in Nevada, especially Las Vegas. Okay. All right. All right. So, you guys, just because we talked about Pyramid Lake doesn't mean we're going to stop talking about lakes. Because there's another lake that has inspired stories for more than a century. A place where eyewitnesses claim to have seen an enormous creature gliding beneath the surface. Some people describe it as a prehistoric survivor. Others believe it's simply another legend born from the deep. Now, high in the Sierra Nevada mountains, to a lake so deep, so cold, and so incredibly clear that scientists can see more than 70 feet below the surface. I said 70, 7-0. But according to generations of witnesses, something else may be looking back. We're talking about the legend of Tahoe-Tessie. Nestled between Nevada and California lies the breathtaking Lake Tahoe. At nearly 1,645 feet deep, it is the second deepest lake in the United States and one of the deepest alpine lakes in the world. Its icy waters rarely climb above the mid-60s, even in summer. The lake contains enough water to cover the entire state of California with more than a foot of water. Standing on its shorelines, it's easy to understand why stories have grown around this place. The water is dark. The depths are immense. And much of the lake, to this day, remains unexplored. For more than a century, people have claimed that an enormous creature lives beneath the surface. Today, that creature is simply known as Tessie or Tahoe Tessie. Long before newspapers gave the creature a nickname, the indigenous uh, Washoe people regarded Lake Tahoe with deep respect. While there are no traditional Washoe stories describing a lake monster, exactly as modern accounts may portray it, the lake itself has long been considered a spiritually significant place. Like many sacred landscapes, it inspires caution, reverence, and stories about powerful forces connected to the water. Now, those beliefs existed long before European settlers arrived, and tourism increased during the late 19th century. Strange stories about the lake suddenly began appearing in newspapers. Now, one of the earliest published reports dates to the early 1880s. In fact, it was 1883. Several men traveling near the lake claimed to observe what appeared to be a massive dark object moving steadily through the water. Now, at first, they just assumed that it might have been a floating log. But then, this object changed directions. According to the report, the creature rose partially above the surface before disappearing beneath the water again. The witness is estimated to be far larger than any fish known to inhabit the lake. The story spread quickly through local newspapers. Some readers, they laughed. Others wondered if something truly unusual had been seen. Now, during the late 1800s and early 1900s, steamboats crossed Lake Tahoe daily. Captains spent thousands of hours on the water. Many became familiar with every cove, current, and floating log, which is why a handful of their reports have remained so intriguing. One captain described seeing an object roughly 30 feet long moving parallel to its vessel. Unlike a drifting tree, it maintained a steady speed against the current. Crew members reportedly watched as the object submerged without creating a splash expected from a large piece of floating debris. Although no photographs exist, the account came before one of the earliest stories repeated throughout the Tahoe region. Now, if you're still interested in lake monsters, the 1950s had their fair share of stories. Now, during the explosion of all of these stories popping up in 1950s, that's when Loch Ness Monster really started gaining worldwide attention. But it wasn't long before newspapers began asking North America whether or not that we had our own monsters. Lake Tahoe quickly entered the conversation. Throughout the decades, several recreational boaters reported seeing unusual wakes crossing otherwise calm waters. One family described watching a long, dark back break the surface nearly 200 yards from shore. They estimated the visual portion alone measured between 15 and 20 feet. And before they could retrieve their camera, it disappeared below the surface. No further explanation was ever found. Now, you guys, this I'm gonna bring a name up, and when I was doing my research for this 50 States of Fear, this name surprised me, but then in a way it didn't. So now one of the lake's most enduring legends center around the world's most famous ocean explorer. Do you know who that ocean explorer is? I know there's a delay, so no, Elvis was not an ocean explorer. Thanks, Thomas. You guys, I'm talking about none other. I see what you're saying. Misspelled it, but I understand what you're saying. Yes, Jacques Cousteau. Now, according to the story, Cousteau descended into the lake's dark, icy depths during an exploration decades ago. When he returned to the surface, those around him noticed something had changed. Jacques looked pale and visibly shaken. The usually composed explorer was said to be unusually quiet. His expression was very difficult to read, and when asked what he had seen, the story claims that he offered the following chilling words: "The world isn't ready for what is down there." Let me say that again. We're talking about a gentleman who has gone to extreme depths in oceans, lakes, things like that. He goes down into Lake Tahoe, and when he comes back, the normal, very, you know, composed as person is pale, visibly shaken, was unusually quiet, and his expression was very difficult to read. And what he said, this is what the claims are: the world isn't ready for what is down there. What did he see? Don't know. Over the years, countless theories have emerged. Some believe it was evidence of a massive creature lurking in the depths. Other Others whisper of a perfectly preserved remains resting on the lake bed. Maybe hidden caves stretching far beneath the mountains, or something so extraordinary that it defies explanation. The truth is, there is no verified evidence that Jacques Cousteau ever made such a dive or uttered those famous words. Yet, the story has refused to disappear. Perhaps that's because Lake Tahoe itself seems built for mystery. With water plunging more than 1,600 feet into darkness, there are places where sunlight never reaches and where the imagination can wander as freely as the legends themselves. Whether the tale is a fact, folklore, or something in between, one thing is for certain: the mystery of what may or may not lie beneath the surface of Lake Tahoe continues to captivate everyone who hears it. So, what are people reportedly seeing? Okay. They describe Tessie as a long serpent like body. Others report several humps moving through the water. Some mention, here's my favorite description, a horse like head. Others simply describe an enormous dark shape far larger than any known fish. Estimate lengths range from anywhere from 15 feet to more than 80 feet. 80 feet. Most sightings occur during calm mornings or evenings when the lake's surface is nearly mirror like. Ami, send me an email, please. But again, one thing that has in common with every single stories is that this creature is reported to move silently. Now, there are speculations and scientific explanations. Scientists have said that large floating logs can absorb water and sink for years before suddenly becoming buoyant again and rising to the surface. Because the logs that drift just beneath the waterline, they may appear to be moving on their own. Lake trout say they say in Lake Tahoe, the lake trout there can exceed 40 pounds. 40 pounds. I don't think that's anywhere close to what a 15 to 80-foot creature would weigh. Some people say they're possibly seeing schools of fish swimming together. Wave patterns and temperature variations may also create optical illusions. Now, these explanations account for many reported sightings, but not all witnesses believe that's what they observed. In April of 2005, it was a calm spring morning along the western shore of Lake Tahoe. Ron Talamage and his friend Beth Douglas were enjoying the view from Tahoe Park Beach when something unusual caught Ron's attention about 100 yards offshore. At first, he simply stared at the water. Then he turned to Beth and asked, "Does that look solid to you?" Beth studied the object for a moment before answering that it did. What they were looking at wasn't a wave, it wasn't a boat, and it definitely wasn't floating debris. Stretched across the surface of the lake was a dark, solid looking shape with what appeared to be 3 to 5 humps rising above the water. The object moved smoothly, gliding across the lake without any obvious source of propulsion. Ron never took his eyes off it. Quietly, almost matter-of-factly, he said, "Well, I'll be damned. That's Tessie." For several moments, the two watched as the mysterious shape continued through the water. There were no large boats nearby to create a wake, and nothing else on the lake seemed capable of producing what they were seeing. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, it was gone. No dramatic splash, no final glimpses, only the calm waters of Lake Tahoe, as though nothing had disturbed them at all. Neither witness claimed to know exactly what they had seen. There were no photographs, no video, only a shared experience that left them asking the same question visitors have been asking for generations. Was it simply an unusual series of waves, or had they just witnessed the legendary creature known as Tahoe Tessie? Now, to this day, there's no definitive explanation that has been offered, and their account remains one of the most frequently cited modern sightings in the continuing legend of Lake Tahoe's elusive monster. Guys, that was cool. All right, let me get in here and welcome some people. I saw one of my sponsors on here, Mitman Aaron. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? How you feeling? I saw that you said that July has been crazy. Good to have you in here. Good to see you. How is your back doing? How is your family? So, and Judy, just let you know, you are in my prayers. Well, I'll tell you, I will probably be there like the second week of March. I know my wife and my sister-in-law will be there in a couple of weeks visiting. So, yeah, suspicious. Lake Tahoe is actually 1,645 feet deep. So that's awesome, man. That's so great to hear. You guys, we're going to stop here right now. We're just going to go ahead and do a real quick. We're going to do a shout out here real quick to the small businesses that make this giveaway that I do every 3 months possible. And it was Aaron, Midman Aaron, that reached out first, said he would like to be part of it. So let's throw this out here. You guys, we're looking at Ally Coffee Roasters in Cadillac, Michigan. Aaron, put your address in the chat if you could, please. You guys, if you love coffee and if you love ethically sourced coffee, you guys cannot go wrong with Ally Coffee Roasters. Check them out at www.allycoffee.com. And if you guys check out, you purchase something, and at checkout, which I hope you do purchase something, don't forget to use the promo code Dano, DANO. That's all capital letters, DANO. And you guys will get 15% off of your order. I was never really a big coffee drinker until Aaron introduced me. Yeah, it's awesome. I've seen the process. I've seen where he does it. I mean, you guys, this man is a hardworking guy, and he will go through every single thing that he roasts. And if there are bad beans in there, he chucks them out. You're getting no bad beans in your batch, I promise. You guys, we're going to talk about another one, which hopefully I'll be seeing them when I go down into October. I'll be heading down to Nixa, Missouri. And we're talking about Russick Supply Company, the Russick Supply Co. Guys, check them out on Etsy. Go to Etsy, do a search for the Russick Supply Co. You guys will not be disappointed. A couple months ago, I sat here and went through their Etsy shop. I might even do it again. I don't know. But you guys will not be disappointed. They work with steel, guys. They posted a video on their Facebook page on the process of how they cut their metal and what they're doing. And as you can see in this picture, they have different types of motifs. So you guys check them out. You won't be disappointed. Then we have another small business here, you guys. PartlyCloudyCollective.com. Check them out on Facebook. Do a search for them for Partly Cloudy Collective. You can send them an email at partlycloudycollective@gmail.com. And you guys, they do like handmade wooden, painted lacquer, like ornaments and other little things. Ornaments seem to be like their biggest thing, so definitely check them out. And the newest of the bunch, you guys, we have IRC 3D prints, 3D designs, real results, custom 3D prints made just for you. That's my buddy Jeremy. That's his email address, and you guys can find him on Etsy, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I don't know if you guys will be able to scan that QR code, but definitely check him out. He makes these little guys right here. He makes these little guys right here. He calls these the little itty bitties. And I know you guys can see him right here. He made a DJ Finwood for me. How cool is that? And other things. So you guys definitely check them out, because if it wasn't for those guys, I wouldn't be able to really put together a really, really cool giveaway. So again, in order to get in that giveaway, all you need to do is join the Cryptid crew. It's $2.99 a month. You guys can cancel whenever you want to. You guys will get your name into a drawing for first, second, or third prize. And yeah, you guys will absolutely love them. I promise. I posted a hummingbird and some butterflies with pink orchids I painted on my paint. Awesome. Show off your art. All right, you guys, let's get back to the story. You guys, we're not done with lakes. We're not. We got another lake called Walker Lake. Now, we're leaving the Sierra Nevadas behind, and our next destination lies roughly 100 miles southeast of Reno. It's called Walker Lake. Now, unlike Tahoe's crystal clear alpine waters, Walker Lake feels ancient. The lake has no natural outlet. Its mineral rich water has been trapped there for thousands of years. And as water evaporates, the minerals remain behind. This has created an isolated ecosystem unlike nearly anywhere else in Nevada. And with isolation come stories. Now, for generations, locals have shared stories about an enormous creature that inhabits Walker Lake. Witnesses report a long, dark body, a narrow head, large humps that break the surface, and movement that resembles a giant snake. Did I say steak? I meant snake. Sorry, guys. Several sightings were reported throughout the 20th century. One fisherman claimed something surfaced roughly 100 yards from his boat. At first, he thought it was several animals swimming together. Then the humps remained perfectly aligned. He estimated the visible length at more than 20 feet. The creature slowly disappeared beneath the water without creating any significant waves. There's no explanation has ever been offered. Now, the Walker Lake serpent, this is a report in 1907. In the morning, in a calm morning in 1907, two men, Dan Corneliuson and his fishing companion, John McCory, they launched their small boat onto the still waters of Walker Lake in western Nevada. They had come expecting nothing more than a very quiet day of fishing. About a half a mile from the shore, Dan noticed what appeared to be a lone man sitting in a skiff far out in the lake. Moments later, the object disappeared beneath the surface. Thinking the boat had capsized, the two men instinctively rowed towards the spot, preparing to help. Before they could get close, something broke the surface again. What emerged was unlike anything either man had ever seen. Instead of a boat, they described a massive serpent-like creature gliding through the water. They estimated it to be nearly 30 feet long, with a broad, dark back rising several feet above the lake. The creature moved with a slow, deliberate motion, creating only a gentle wake as it crossed the water. The men watched in stunned silence as it continued towards the eastern shore before slipping beneath the surface once again, this time without a splash or any sign where it had gone. Shaken by the experience, Dan later shared the account publicly. Newspapers across the region carried the story, describing him as a man of good reputation whose encounter added another chapter in the growing legend of the Walker Lake serpent. Now, more than a century later, no one knows what the two fishermen saw that day. Was it an unusually large animal, a trick of light and distance on the water, or did they witness the creature that local Paiute traditions have spoken of long before the settlers had arrived? The answer disappeared beneath the surface of Walker Lake and has remained there ever since. Now, Walker Lake has also produced numerous reports of unexplained wakes. Experienced boaters occasionally described a V-shaped wake crossing perfectly calm water, yet nothing visible appears to be creating them. While underwater currents and swift winds can produce unusual patterns, Some witnesses insist the wakes behave unlike anything they have seen. Now, we all know that the depths of the waters, they keep their secrets. So whether we're talking about Tahoe Tessie or the Walker Lake serpent, or simply nature playing tricks on the human eyes, Nevada's lakes continue to inspire wonder. Perhaps that's because water has always hidden secrets. We can't easily see beneath the surface. Our imagination naturally fills in the darkness. Sometimes the imagination becomes legend. Other times it begins with someone honestly describing something that they cannot explain. Now, you guys, we're going to jump away from the lakes and we're going to talk about something that's been known as the wild man. What about the water babies? I already covered them. We are going to be talking about the wild man of the Silver State. Now, where we're going to be going from here is we're going to be going up into the rugged mountain ranges of Nevada. We're going to be going into forests that stretch for miles without a soul in sight. Now, most people picture Nevada as endless desert, and the truth is very different. Nevada is the most mountainous state in the lower 48. It has more than 300 mountain ranges rising from its valleys, creating isolated forests, hidden streams, alpine meadows, and deep canyons that remain remarkably untouched. If there was a place for a large, elusive animal to avoid people, then these mountains would certainly qualify. Now, over the last several decades, hunters, hikers, ranchers, campers, DNR, forest rangers all have reported encounters with something that they could not identify. And we all know some people, they believe they saw a bear. When they tell their encounter, someone easily tells them, "Oh, you saw a bear." But then it stands upright. Do bears stand upright? Yes, absolutely they do. But they're awkward doing it. Others report hearing screams unlike any known animal. And some people have even claimed they have come face to face with what they believe is a Sasquatch. Now, the Ruby Mountains is often called the Swiss Alps of Nevada. The Ruby Mountains rise dramatically above the surrounding basin. Dense stands of pines and aspens cover the slopes. Creeks wind through the narrow valleys, and there is an abundance of wildlife. People have reported seeing elk, mountain lions, and black bear, and countless other smaller animals who call these mountains home. But it's also one of Nevada's most consistent regions for Bigfoot reports. The Ruby Mountains and Nevada's most compelling Bigfoot encounters are coming out of this area. Now, the Ruby Mountains are in northeastern Nevada and often mentioned whenever the topic Bigfoot comes up in the Silver State. With dense forests, rugged peaks, alpine lakes, and hundreds of square miles of remote wilderness, it's easy to understand why, if an elusive creature were able to avoid human contact, then he's in the right place. Now, over the years, hunters and campers, hikers have all very quietly shared stories of strange sounds, unexplained footprints, and unsettling feelings that something was watching them from the trees. However, after researching the the available evidence, I cannot find any documented, like, actual Ruby Mountain encounters that witnesses have made due to seeing Bigfoot. And if there is anything, I can't really confirm any date or traceable sources But that doesn't mean that these encounters haven't happened. It simply means that no one has been very public about their encounters. So instead of sharing stories of, bits and pieces of stories, I decided that, I would try to find some of the more documented encounters in Nevada's history regarding Bigfoot. And one of those is the Geno Bigfoot encounter, Douglas County, Nevada, in September of 1984. Now, two friends, they set out for a day hike in the mountains of west of Genoa, um, uh, along the eastern slope of the Sierra Nevadas. They had explored the area many times before and were pretty comfortable in the backcountry. Following a creek through the timber, the pair rounded a bend in the trail. That's when they were stopped in their tracks. Standing only 30 feet away was a massive hair covered creature, unlike anything they'd have seen. The witnesses later estimated the creature stood between 7 to 8 feet tall. His body was covered in dark brown hair with broad shoulders, a thick chest, and unusually long arms that hung well below its waist. But there was something else, an overwhelming odor. The witness described it as an intensely musky smell, unlike anything either one had encountered in the years they spent hunting or hiking in the mountains. For several long seconds, the hikers and the creature simply stared at one another. The witness later said that the face appeared more human than ape, with dark eyes that seemed to study them very calmly. The creature did not growl. There was no aggressive display, just a quiet moment of mutual observation. Then, without making a noise, the creature slowly turned, and in only a few strides, it disappeared into the dense timber as effortlessly as it had appeared. Now, neither hiker attempted to follow it. They remained where they stood, trying to process what they had just witnessed before quietly making their way back down the trail. Now, years later, one of the witnesses documented the encounter, insisting that after decades in the outdoors, he knew the difference between a bear and what they had seen that day. Now, to this day, there was no physical evidence that confirmed what crossed their paths in September of 1984. Again, they didn't take pictures, they didn't go up and investigate, they didn't see any prints. Now, we can play devil's advocate here. Was it an unknown animal, or was it what we think it is? Could it have been a misidentified bear under some unusual circumstances? Or did the two experienced hikers witness something science has yet to explain? Good night, Thomas, man. Thanks for coming in, buddy. So, like many of Nevada's mysteries, the answer disappeared into the forest, and perhaps, just perhaps, it's still there. Now we're going to fast forward 15 years to an area called Battle Mountain, Nevada. August 1999. One of the most controversial Bigfoot stories ever to come out of Nevada began during one of the state's worst wildfire seasons. In early August 1999, lightning ignited a series of massive range fires near Battle Mountain in central Nevada. Known as the Battle Mountain Complex Fire, the blaze eventually consumed tens of thousands of acres of rugged wilderness. Firefighters from multiple agencies, including the Bureau of Land Management, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Services, the Department of the Interior, and local fire departments, they were all dispatched to battle the fast-moving fires. Now, according to an anonymous government employee who later contacted the BFRO, something extraordinary happened during the firefighting operation. The witness claimed that while crews were working the fire line, they noticed a large figure stumbling out of the smoke. At first, many assumed that it was a bear, but as it moved closer, they realized it wasn't walking like one. The witness described it moving as moving on all fours, but not like a bear, but more like an ape. The creature appeared badly injured. Most of its hair had been burned away, and it seemed exhausted from the fire. Instead of fleeing, the witnesses said the animal simply sat down, almost as though it accepted that it could no longer go any further. Firefighters reportedly surrounded the creature without resistance. Medical personnel was called to the scene, both a physician and a veterinarian. According to the witnesses, the veterinarian initially hesitated because the creature appeared remarkably human-like, allowing the physician to take the lead in treating its injuries. Okay, I'm going to pause right there because, okay, DK, you've asked twice so far. What are you asking here? Because I'm trying to read this encounter. Let's see here. You have a video. Did I see the story about the dead Bigfoot being found? I had not seen that. I did see a video of some huck yuck taking like a power saw or something and cutting a huge Bigfoot head in half that he claims that's a Bigfoot head, and I think it's fake. So, but yeah, if you have the video, I'd love to see it. And just let me go ahead and preface this. If anybody has a story, an encounter, a video, audio, anything that you would like me to take a look at or listen to, please shoot me an email at thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. Again, thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. And if I don't answer you guys right away, please understand that I'm reading these encounters. So, yeah, email me the link. I'd love to see it. I really would. All right. Okay, so the witnesses described the creature as approximately 7.5 feet tall, long human-like arms and legs, dark hair covering most of its body, sparse hair crossing its chest, bare palms with 5 fingers and opposable thumbs, a face that appeared somewhat between human and an ape, a naturally strong odor similar to that of a horse. Now, the injuries that were reported. Hey, DK, just shoot me an email with the. Just shoot me an email. Okay. The injuries were reported as severe. The witness estimated that nearly 45% of the creature's body had suffered second and third degree burns. Despite its injuries, it reportedly responded to gentle touch with low groans and grumbles, seemingly recognizing that the people treating it were trying to help rather than to harm it. After receiving emergency treatment, the creature was allegedly tranquilized and transported away in an unmarked utility vehicle rather than an ambulance. The witnesses claim that officials feared that using an ambulance would attract media attention and lead people to believe that a firefighter had been seriously injured. According to the account, roughly 20 to 30 firefighters and government personnel all witnessed this event. The anonymous source further alleged that everyone present was instructed not to discuss what they had seen. And now I'll get into the investigation shortly. Hey, DK, if you are a member of the Facebook page, the Cryptid Podcast, or the group, the Cryptid Podcast. You can also post it there if you'd like. So now the investigation was submitted. The witness submitted the account to the BFRO shortly after the incident. Guys, hear this. Let me know if this bothers you, okay? Let me know if this bothers you. So, the anonymous government official that submitted the account to the BFRO shortly after the incident. However, the BFRO investigators ultimately declined not to publish the report, stating that we could not verify the claims and did not consider the evidence significant to support or sufficient enough to support the extraordinary story. The story may have ended there, but author and researcher Tom Powell believed the witness was sincere. He interviewed the anonymous source in greater detail and later included the account in his book, The Locals. Since then, the Battle Mountain incident has become one of the most discussed and most debated Bigfoot stories in modern cryptozoology. Now, here's what we really do know. Okay, this is stuff that seems to be substantiated. Okay, here's what can be stated with confidence. The Battle Mountain complex fire actually occurred in August of 1999. Multiple federal and state agencies responded to wildfires. An anonymous witness submitted a detailed account claiming firefighters captured and treated. Actually, I don't think they captured it, but they treated an injured Bigfoot. The BFRO received the report but declined to publish it because it could not be verified. And Tom Powell later investigated the story and believed the witness deserved to be heard. Thanks, DK. I appreciate that. Now, beyond that, there is no publicity available, no physical evidence, no photographs, no official records, and no independently confirmed witness testimony supporting this account. Whether the Battle Mountain incident was an elaborate misunderstanding, an extraordinary event hidden from public view, or simply an unforgettable campfire story, it remains one of the greatest unanswered questions in the modern Bigfoot lore. And somewhere in the smoke-covered mountainside of Battle Mountain, the truth still may be waiting. Now, there's another incident. It's called the Lemon Valley Encounter in Washoe County, Nevada. This happened in August of 1972, and this is from the BFRO. But when I was doing my research, this is one that came up, and I didn't look in on the BFRO website to pull this. This is a very well spoke about encounter. Now, one of Nevada's most detailed Bigfoot encounters took place during the summer of 1972 in Washoe County, just northwest of Reno. The witness, whose report was published by the BFRO in 2003, explained that this was one of several encounters he experienced between 1970 and 1983. At the time of this incident, he was 12 years old, and he was accompanied by his 10-year-old brother. What's up, Kel? And their 12-year-old friend, David. So this individual was 12 years old, his brother was 10 years old, and their buddy was 12 years old. The three boys spent much of the summer exploring the desert foothills, dry washes, abandoned dumps, and old mining areas around Lemon Valley. The encounter occurred during the middle of August. The day was bright and sunny. It was about 85 degrees with very little wind. The boys had climbed down into one of the area's dry washes, which were visible from above because they were hidden beneath thick sagebrush. The wash itself was several feet below the surrounding terrain with nearly vertical dirt banks. As the boys walked along the floor of the wash, they rounded a bend. About 40 to 50 feet ahead, something large suddenly stood up from behind a dirt embankment. The witnesses said his first impression was that it looked like a man. But almost immediately he realized that this was not a man. This thing was far too big. The creature stood completely upright. The witness estimated that it was approximately 7 to 8 feet tall. It had broad shoulders. It was very muscular, covered in dark brown hair, long arms hanging way below the waist, a very thick neck, but human-like proportions. He said that its face looked, it was unlike any animal that he had ever seen. It had dark eyes, a flat nose, a heavy brow ridge, little visible neck because of its massive shoulders, but it had a human-like expression. The witness later wrote that the creature appeared just as surprised to see us as we were to see it. Now, for several seconds, no one moved. The boys, they simply looked at it. This creature did the same, just looked at the boys. Now, there was no aggression from this creature. There was no growling. There was no threatening display. Only a moment of complete silence. Without making a sound, the creature suddenly turned, and instead of climbing out of the wash where the boys could see it, it disappeared by moving through the winding wash itself. The witness remembered being struck by how quick something so big could move. With only a few moments, it was gone. After overcoming their initial fear, curiosity got the better of them. So the boys cautiously walked to the place where the creature had been standing. They searched for footprints, but found none that they could clearly identify as being footprints because of the hard packed soil. What they did notice was that something very large had obviously occupied the area only moments before. The witnesses explained that he had spent his childhood exploring Nevada's backcountry. He was very familiar with every animal common to the area. He stated that what the boys encountered that afternoon was unlike anything they had ever seen before or since. More than 35 years later, he submitted the encounter to the BFRO, maintaining that the story had remained crystal clear to him throughout his life. Now, the BFRO, they did accept this. They classified it as a Class A sighting, meaning it considered a direct witness observation of an unknown creature under circumstances where misidentification is regarded as unlikely. Now, let's kind of ask what the differences are between this encounter, the one that the BFRO published, and the one they refused to publish. Okay, so there were no photographs taken in the first one or the second one. There were no tracks mentioned in the first one or the second one. There was no physical evidence recovered in the first one or the second one. Oh, wait a minute. There was, though. In the first one, they collected a Bigfoot and had 30 grown men and women witnessing this thing. You had medical personnel treating this creature. And this report. Now, I'm not denying that these two 12-year-olds and this 10-year-old didn't see what they saw. But how is the BFRO going to publish this encounter but not publish the other encounter? Just saying. So, and then here's another one. This happened in August of 1972 again. August of 1972. And this again was in Washoe County, Nevada. And this report was submitted by the same 12-year-old as the last one. Just 10 days after a daylight encounter with a massive upright creature in a dry wash near Lemon Valley, 12-year-old Kelly experienced something even stranger, this time from the safety of his own bedroom. Kelly and his family had recently moved into a newly built home on the east side of Lemon Valley, just north of Reno. The neighborhood was surrounded by low granite hills, sagebrush covered draws, and Catherine, thank you for coming in. Thank you. Mansing, hello, how are you? Mansing is a woman. The neighborhood was surrounded by low granite hills, sagebrush covered draws, and open desert. The houses were newly fenced. The fences were the houses were new, the fences were still being built, and one problem had quickly become apparent. A pack of 4 large feral dogs had taken over the area. The pack consisted of 2 Dobermans and 2 mixed breed dogs. They had no owner, showed no fear of people, and routinely wandered the neighborhood after dark. Residents worried about their children, and one neighbor, an animal control officer, had already arranged for the county to come in and remove them. But before that happened, something extraordinary happened. It was sometime between midnight and 12:30 a.m. Kelly said he was lying on his bed, reading with his bedroom window open. The curtains were closed. The warm summer night was calm and quiet except for the dogs. For nearly 15 minutes, he listened as the pack barked somewhere in the surrounding hills. At first, he assumed that they may have been chasing a jackrabbit. As the barking continued, he wondered, could it be maybe a coyote? Then the commotion refused to stop. He even considered the possibility that they have maybe encountered a mountain lion. Nate the Great, what is up? Where have you been, dude? So now he's thinking maybe these four wild dogs have cornered a mountain lion. Then the sounds began moving towards the neighborhood. Instead of passing in front of the house, however, the dog suddenly turned into his backyard. Kelly started to get out of bed to take a look. Before he could reach the window, he heard whatever the dogs were chasing around the corner of the garage. For just a moment, the dogs were far enough behind that he could clearly hear the creature's footsteps. For just a moment, saying here, he distinctly heard 3 heavy bipedal footfalls crossing the 20 feet between his garage and his bedroom. The steps were unlike anything he'd ever heard. Then came the incredible crash. Something slammed into the corner of the house with such force that Kelly heard one of the wall studs crack and felt his bedroom shake. At nearly the same instant, there was a second impact about 7 feet above the ground across the outside corner of his bedroom window. The entire window rattled violently. Immediately after came a deep, forceful grunt as though the impact had knocked the wind out of whatever had hit the house. Kelly's first thought was that the dogs were chasing a man, but before but almost instantly he realized something didn't make sense. The impact was far too high. The footprints covered nearly 20 feet in what sounded like only 2 strides, and whatever had struck the house possessed tremendous strength. Kelly rushed towards the curtains, intending to yell at the dogs. Before he could pull them open, it happened. From just outside his bedroom window, only a couple feet from where he stood, the creature let out a low growl. Kelly later described it as something as the most terrifying sound he had ever heard. It wasn't loud, but it lasted only about 2.5 seconds. But he said it was deep. It was deeper, meaner, and more intimidating than the growl of any bear or wild animal that he had ever heard since. The growl instantly changed everything. The dogs, which had been barking fiercely only moments earlier, fell completely silent. For several long seconds, nothing moved. The only sound was the quiet night. Kelly later said that he was too frightened to breathe. Then suddenly he heard the creature quietly step away from the window. A second later, the dogs charged after it again. The creature sprinted towards the backyard fence. Kelly heard a stack of lumber collapse as it passed, followed by an unmistakable sound of something large striking the top of a 6-foot cedar fence and cleared it in a single leap. The dogs reached the fence seconds later but could not follow. They scratched frantically at the boards, barking in frustration before running around the outside of the property in pursuit. Then everything became quiet again. Only after the creature had gone did Kelly realize that something else was still lingering outside his window. It was a powerful odor. He said the overwhelming combination smelled like wet dog, stale urine, rancid sweat, and the smell of something like burnt rubber. The odor was so intense that he staggered away from the window and immediately closed it. The following morning, he went outside to inspect the area and he found his mother's flower bed completely flattened, the metal trellis besides the window crushed to the ground, a stack of 2x4s knocked over, and deep scratches from the dogs on the cedar fence. He also noticed that something else was left behind. It was strands of, or a tuft of coarse hair, approximately 3 inches long, mostly black with reddish brown highlights and oily enough to glisten in the sunlight. He considered collecting it, but ultimately convinced himself it may have been from one of the Dobermans. He left it there. Years later, he admitted he decided uh, he admitted that decision was one that he regretted. He discussed the incident with his parents. His father suggested that it could have been either a bear or a mountain lion. Uh, Kelly couldn't reconcile the explanation with what he had heard. It wasn't until roughly a year later when he came across a tourist brochure about Bigfoot that he had finally found a possibility that both fits the experience and the daylight encounter that he had only had 10 days earlier. One final detail remained with him that night. After that night, the feral dogs were never seen or heard again in that neighborhood. Now, the BFRO, they did accept this one because he never really saw the creature. They classified it as a Class B encounter. So, yeah. All right. How are we doing, you guys? How are things going? Want me to keep going? Hello, Wade. Doing good, doing good. Hey, Wade. 14 months, man. Thank you so much. Aaron, I'm so glad you're here, brother. I'll text you tomorrow, dude, for sure. All right, keep on going, or you guys keep going. Okay, all right. Raider Mitch, what's up, man? If anyone finds Bigfoot in Nevada, please take him straight to Vegas. Oh, man, I see two of my buddies in here, man. 9 Mile King, what's up, dude? And Raider Mitch, man, I've known this kid since he was in elementary school. We got a quarterback to protect. That's great. Kids from Washington State, and he's been a diehard Raiders fan for as long as I can remember. All right, here we go. Let's get back to the show. So there is an area called the Drawbridge Wilderness. If there's a place in Nevada where someone could disappear for days, it's this place, Drawbridge Wilderness. Located in the northeastern corner of the state, the Drawbridge Wilderness contains some of the most remote country in the American West. Deep canyons, steep peaks, dense forests, limited road access. Many longtime outdoorsmen consider it among the wildest landscapes in Nevada. It's also home to several Bigfoot reports. One reoccurring theme appears again and again. People hear wood knocks. Witnesses describe hearing loud, deliberate, single knocks echoing through the forest. Not a random branch falling, not the sharp crack of a rifle, but solid, resonating strikes against wood. Sometimes the sound is actually answered by another knock. Okay, that means there's some communication going on. But that knock is heard hundreds of yards away. Researchers have debated these reports for decades. Some believe they could be natural sounds amplified by mountain acoustics. Others suggest they may represent a form of communication, but to date, nobody actually knows. One of the oldest and most intriguing mysteries takes us to the remote mining town of Jarbridge in the summer of 1910. Now, while many today know the story as the legend of the Jarbridge Monster, the mystery began with a real tragedy involving a prospector named Michelangelo, Mike for short, Berg. Now, gold had been discovered in Jarbridge Mountains in 1909, and within months, a tiny camp had exploded into one of Nevada's newest boomtowns. Thousands of miners poured into the rugged canyons, hoping to strike it rich. The area was isolated, surrounded by steep mountains, dense forests, and miles of unforgiving wilderness. It was in this harsh landscape that one of Nevada's greatest frontier mysteries unfolded: the disappearance of Mike Berg. In July of 1910, experienced prospector Mike Berg left camp to work his mining claim. Like many miners of the area, he traveled alone and carried a rifle for protection. When Berg failed to return, fellow miners organized a search party, and what they found shocked the entire mining camp. Berg's body was discovered near his claim, and the injuries were severe. Historical newspaper accounts described those injuries as his throat had been torn open, the neck was badly mutilated, deep claw marks covered his shoulders and upper body, his face and head had suffered extensive trauma, his clothes had been badly shredded, his rifle was found nearby, and appears to have never been fired during the attack. The brutal nature of this attack immediately fueled the fear throughout the isolated mining community. Now, you guys, being out in the woods as much as I have, and probably a lot of you people in here have gone out in the woods more time than not, and if you've gone up into a mountainous area, it's a possibility that you could bump into a mountain lion. Because listening to those wounds, it makes me think that that's what it was. And that's what the coroner thought. And that's what he said. Mike had been killed by a mountain lion. At the time, cougars were common throughout the Nevada mountains. Although attacks on humans were extremely rare, investigators believe that a large mountain lion was responsible for Berg's death. And to this day, that remains the official explanation. But not everybody has accepted that verdict. Many of the miners believe Berg's injuries were far more violent than any mountain lion attack that they had ever seen. Some claim the wounds looked as though Berg had been beaten as well as clawed. Others insist the attack simply didn't resemble anything they'd ever witnessed. Whether those observations were accurate or simply as a result of fear and rumor, they quickly spread through the mining camp. Before long, people stopped talking about a mountain lion. Instead, they began referring to the unknown killer as the Jarbidge monster. But what was it? What was this monster? No one could really agree what it was. Over the years, stories described it as being an enormous mountain lion. Some even said a great wolf. The thought of a massive bear, that was on the table. An unidentified wilderness predator? Sure. Or some unknown creature lurking within the mountains. No physical evidence was ever found to discover or had ever been discovered to support the existence of an unknown animal. The Jarbidge monster grew from local folklore rather than a documented sighting. Now, there is an ancient legend. The mystery became even more fascinating because the area already carried an ancient Native American tradition. The name Jarbidge is believed to come from the Western Shoshone word, and I wish I could say this. Sahabits. Tsawhabits. Now, this translates to the cannibal giant or the giant that eats men. According to Shoshone tradition, the giant man eating being, or I'm going to say creature, okay? The giant man eating creature lived within these mountains long before the prospectors arrived. There's no evidence connecting this traditional legend to Mr. Berg's death, but the coincidence helps transform a tragic frontier incident into one of Nevada's most enduring mysteries. Now, was this monster ever seen? No. No eyewitness has ever reported seeing a mysterious creature that attacked Mike Berg. No one described a Bigfoot. No one just reported a giant wolf or have claimed to ever seen an unknown beast. Everything beyond the official mountain lion conclusion comes from rumors, local storytelling, and the legend that developed afterwards. Even today, most historians and wildlife experts believe that Mr. Berg was in fact killed by a mountain lion. Others believe, though, that he may have encountered an exceptionally large predator. So, you may ask, why does this story still captivate people? More than a century later since his death, Mr. Berg's story remains one of Nevada's greatest frontier mysteries. It has everything that makes a legend endure. Okay? A remote gold rushing town, a brutal unexplained death, the official explanation that many question, ancient Native American traditions tied to the land, and over a century of speculation that transformed a tragic event into the legend known as the Jarbidge monster. Now, that's not the only thing that goes on around this area. One summer evening, a family of campers near Jarbidge settled into their tents shortly after sunset. Around midnight, they were awakened by heavy footsteps circling their campsite. Now, at first, they thought it might have been, I don't know, maybe an elk. But then came this powerful smell. The father later described it as a combination of wet dog and rotting vegetation, and something he'd never encountered before. Moments later, something struck a nearby tree. Once, then again, the footsteps moved away, and then by morning, nothing had been disturbed, no food was missing, no cooler had been opened. The family found several unusual large tracks in the soft soil leading towards the trees. But by the time wildlife officials arrived, wind and dry conditions had erased much of that detail. The family left convinced that they had experienced something extraordinary. All right, let's see here. All right, are we still good? Are you guys still enjoying the show? It's been a while since I've done one this long. But I got a lot of stuff. Still good? Okay, DK, thanks for that, man. I appreciate that. Absolutely, yes, sir. Okay, let's keep on going. You guys, we're going to talk about one of America's greatest mysteries. Now, in this area, what do you think this America's greatest mystery is? What do you think? What's up, Maximus? I'm talking about something that's there, but I can neither confirm nor deny that it's there. If you get what I'm saying. Our journey takes us to a place unlike anywhere else in the world. A place surrounded by warning signs, patrolled by armed security, and protected by decades of serious security. Secrets are swimming around this area. For many people, just hearing the name sparks one question. Are we really alone? You guys, Wade hit the nail on the head. We're talking about Area 51. Now, the deserts of Nevada is built for secrets, you guys. Coconut Shrimp, thank you so much for that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Southern Nevada is vast. From the air, it appears almost endless. Miles upon miles of dry lake beds, jagged mountain ranges, and barren valleys. It's one of the least populated regions in the United States. Georgia, hello, hello, hello. Richie, what's up, brother? Exactly the kind of place where the government could test experimental aircraft far away from the public eye. In 1955, the United States selected a dry lake bed known as Groom Lake as a testing site for one of the most advanced aircraft ever built. I'm talking about the project known as the U-2. Designed during the height of the Cold War, the U-2 was capable of flying higher than any operational aircraft of its day. Because of this program's secrecy, workers were flown into the base on unmarked aircraft. Maps omitted the location. The public knew almost nothing about what was happening behind the fences. And In that vacuum of information, or better believe it, rumors began to grow. Now, you guys, imagine this. You're hanging out, it's the late 1950s, you're driving across the Nevada desert, and suddenly you look up, and far above anything you've ever seen, a silver object glides silently across the sky. No contrails, no visible wings from your angle. Lolo, thanks for that membership. Thank you so much. This is an aircraft that you've never recognized it before. So what do? You report it to the local authorities. And eventually that story reaches the Air Force, except what you actually witnessed may have been the U-2 spy plane. At the time, commercial airliners flew around 20,000 feet. The U-2 routinely operated above 60,000 feet. People simply weren't accustomed to seeing aircraft at that altitude. Later, as aircraft like the A-12 Oxcart, the SR-71 Blackbird, and the F-117 Nighthawk were tested over Nevada, new generations of witnesses reported impossible-looking crafts. And I will tell you, I have personally stood next to two of those aircraft that we just mentioned. Many aviation historians believe these classified programs account for a significant number of UFO reports from the region, but not all of them. State route, whatever you want to say it, 375 cuts through some of the loneliest country in America. In 1996, Nevada officially renamed this stretch of highway Extraterrestrial Highway. The designation wasn't an admission of alien activity. It recognizes the road's growing reputation among UFO enthusiasts and tourists. Travelers have reported seeing brilliant orange spheres, white lights maneuvering at incredible speeds, objects pacing vehicles for miles, lights that stop instantly, and then they accelerate beyond the horizon. Many sightings likely involve military aircraft operating from nearby installations. You notice I didn't say installation, I said installations. Others remain unexplained simply because there wasn't enough information to identify what was seen. Now, that distinction is important. Unidentified doesn't automatically mean extraterrestrial. It simply means that no confirmed explanation for what they saw exists. Now, if you want to see Area 51 legally, there's only one place to do it, and it's Tickaboo Peak. Nearly 26 miles from Groom Lake, it offers the only publicly accessible vantage point from which portions of the installation can be seen sometimes. Now, the hike is very, very demanding. The desert, as we know, can be very unforgiving. Yet every year, photographers, researchers, and curious visitors make the climb. Most leave having seen little more than distant buildings or occasional aircraft. Others claim they've witnessed lights unlike anything they've ever observed. Whether those lights are advanced military technology or something else, it remains open for interpretation. Now, one of the craziest things that's ever come out of Area 51, you can't talk about Area 51 without mentioning Mr. Bob Lazar. Now, in 1989, Bob Lazar claimed that he worked at a facility that he called S4, allegedly located near Area 51. Now, according to Lazar, he had been hired to help reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology. He described disc-shaped craft powered by an element unknown to science at the time. His interviews exploded across television and radio. Supporters argue that some of his statements appear remarkably detailed. Critics point to inconsistencies in his educational and employment history and note that many of his claims have never been independently verified. Now, you guys, I'm going to step in here and say something about this, okay? So, if this person did, oh, you're leaving, you're getting out of here tonight, bud? Hey, Wade, thank you so much for coming in tonight, man. I appreciate you. Did you go to the Bigfoot conference today? Send me a text, bud. Send me a text message. So if he actually did work, he's had some insanely high security clearances. And if you're working in certain areas, and if you're doing something like he's claiming to do, the government's going to go to great lengths to do things to try to keep you as much of a secret as possible. So whether people are looking at the inconsistencies of his educational and employment history and note that many of his claims have never been independently verified, they're going to deny it. The government's going to deny it. It's a possibility that some of his stuff was omitted. That's why his educational and employment history are inconsistent, because a lot of his stuff could very well be omitted. Okay. But however, to this day, Bob Lazar remains one of the most controversial figures in UFO history. Whether he's revealing the truth, mistaken, or something in between, the question that continues to, these are the questions that continue to divide researchers. Now, we mentioned earlier, what's up, Bo Ballard? We mentioned earlier, you guys, that employees that work out in Area 51, they're flown on commercial airlines. But those airlines are unmarked. And what I mean by being unmarked, there's no marking at all on them. There's no tail numbers, nothing. Okay? So, and that airline is called Janet Airlines. Now, they're really, like I said, is an airline that transports workers to highly classified facilities in Nevada. It's commonly known as Janet. Every weekday, unmarked white aircraft with a distinctive red stripe departs from a secure terminal at Harry Reid International Airport in Las Vegas. The flight carries employees to Groom Lake and other restricted government sites. The airline itself isn't evidence of extraterrestrials. Okay. The airline itself, excuse me, it exists. Its existence reflects the real need to transport thousands of workers involved in classified defense programs. In a way, they are cutting out the possibility of something happening to them from wherever they're leaving to wherever they're going. So they're taking a flight. I don't know how long the flight is. I'm sure it's not that long, but you're landing, and I think it's probably the safest way to travel. But sometimes the truth is mysterious enough in its own. Now, back in, let's see, I got to make sure I'm not reading. Okay, so I was going to talk about this, but I am going to not talk about this. I'm going to do something else with that. We can either stop there or keep going, whatever you guys want to do. Because now I'm going to get into some of the ghost towns of Nevada. And some of them are pretty crazy. Now, I'm not going to get into really like detail of what some of these incidences are. I won't do that because, I don't like to really talk in depth about paranormal stuff on here, but how can you not talk about these ghost towns when you're talking about um, Nevada? So here we go, you guys. So ghost towns, phantom mines or miners, and spirits of the Silver State. It begins underground, everyone, deep beneath Nevada's mountains, where thousands of miners risk and often lost their lives searching for silver and gold. Many of the miners never made it home, and according to countless witnesses, some never truly leave. Nevada earned the nickname the Silver State after the discovery of the Comstock lode in 1859. It was one of the richest silver discoveries in American history, and almost overnight, small camps exploded into thriving mining towns like Virginia City, Goldfield, Belmont, uh, Tonopah. Thousands of hopeful prospectors poured into Nevada, chasing fortunes beneath the desert floor. But mining in the 19th century was brutally dangerous. Miners had to contend with tunnel collapses, poisonous gases, explosions, floodings, runaway ore carts, and disease. Now, death was an accepted part of life as a miner. Entire crews sometimes disappeared beneath tons of rock. When tragedy struck, work often resumed within days. There was little time to mourn, and perhaps perhaps that's one reason why so many people believe that Nevada's mining towns still to this day remain haunted. Now, Virginia City is widely considered one of America's most haunted towns in American West. If one town has become synonymous with hauntings, it's Virginia City. Perched above the Comstock lode, the town attracts more than 250,000 residents during its boom years. Today, many of the original buildings, they still stand. Wooden sidewalks creak beneath visitors' feet. Historic saloons still line the streets. And nearly every building seems to have its own ghost story. The Washoe Club, perhaps the most famous haunted location in Virginia City, is the Washoe Club. It opened in 1875 as an executive gathering place for the wealthy mine owners, politicians, and businessmen, known as the Millionaires Club. The upper floor also housed rooms used by ladies of the night, and the basement reportedly served as a temporary morgue after mining disasters. Now, reported activity at the Washoe Club, or the Millionaires Club, those activities include shadowy figures on the upper floor, a blonde woman nicknamed the Lady in Blue, phantom cigar smoke, footsteps heard in empty rooms, disembodied voices, cold spots, and doors that seem to open and close on their own. Now, if you've watched any of the numerous paranormal television programs, you have seen Virginia City and some of these buildings on their investigation. Now, we're going to go ahead and move from the Washoe Club, or the Millionaires Club, and we're just going to go mosey on down the street a little ways to the Silver Queen Hotel. Now, guests have long reported hearing footsteps in empty rooms, furniture's moving in the night, an unexplained knock on the wall, and one room in particular That room number is 11. Now, that room has become famous among paranormal enthusiasts. Guests have described waking to the sensation of somebody sitting on the edge of their bed. Others report seeing a figure of a woman dressed in 19th century clothing. Whether these experiences stem from expectations, suggestions, or something truly unexplainable, it remains impossible to determine. Yet the stories continue year after year and guest after guest. Now, we're going to go to the McKay Mansion. Now, the McKay Mansion was built in 1959 by George Hearst and later owned by silver baron John McKay. This Victorian mansion has become one of the state's premier paranormal destinations. Now, reported spirits have included Mrs. McKay wandering the halls, a Victorian woman sitting in the parlor, a servant hurrying through the kitchen, 2 bandits allegedly killed during a failed robbery near the vault, shadowy figures, children's laughter, and unexplained voices. From there, we go over to Piper's Opera House. Now, this was built the following year in 1860 and then rebuilt after a fire. Piper's Opera House hosts famous performers including Mark Twain, Buffalo Bill Cody, and Al Jolson. Now, the claims of paranormal activity include a man with a handlebar mustache seen in the theater, a woman wearing a Victorian blue dress, ghostly figures seating in the balcony. Can you imagine sitting down there just kind of looking around and looking up and seeing ghostly figures just hanging out and sitting up there? Phantom applause, music heard from the empty stage, and strange lights backstage. Now we're going to go and we're going to swing on over to Silver Terrace Cemetery. Established during the height of the Comstock mining boom, Silver Terrace Cemetery is the final resting place for many miners, children, and victims of disease and mining accidents. Visitors have reported seeing blue floating lights, shadowy figures, unexplained voices, cold spots, apparitions walking through the graves. We were talking about Bob Lazar from Area 51, and he has paychecks from exactly. Oh, I know about Bob Lazar. Trust me, I've seen a lot of videos on him. I believe him. I believe him 100%. Now, from the Silver Terrace Cemetery, we head on over to St. Mary's Art Center. Now, this was originally built in 1875 as Virginia City's hospital, but then it later became an art center and guest lodging. So, common reports from this location are hospital patients still seen wandering in the hallways, phantom nurses, children's voices, wheelchairs just moving by themselves, and EVPs. Now, we talked about one cemetery, but there are more than one cemetery in Virginia City. It's actually surrounded by historic cemeteries. Some date back to the earliest years of the mining boom. Many of the graves belong to children lost to disease. Others markers show miners that were killed underground. Visitors occasionally report hearing whispers while they walk among the headstones. Some describe seeing figures standing between graves, only to vanish after moments later. And again, these accounts remain anecdotal, but together They have become part of Virginia City's enduring reputation. Now, we're leaving Virginia City and we're heading over to Goldfield. We're traveling south about 180 miles, and you've arrived in Goldfield. Now, Goldfield, Nevada is one of the most fascinating places in American West. Unlike Virginia City, which is known primarily for ghosts from the Comstock Lode, Goldfield combines boomtown history, violent deaths, abandoned buildings, ghost stories, and even UFO lore. At its peak in 1906 and 1907, Goldfield had more than 20,000 residents, making it the largest city in Nevada. Just a few years later, the mines declined and devastating fire destroyed much of downtown and the population collapsed. Thanks, Ashes. I'll try to jump on your live, buddy. Now, we're going to talk about the Goldfield Hotel. Now, few buildings have inspired more paranormal television shows than the Goldfield Hotel. The abandoned Goldfield Hotel is arguably the most famous haunted building in Nevada and has been featured on numerous paranormal television shows. This hotel was built in 1907 and it was one of the most luxurious hotels in the West. Now, what made this thing kind of special was it boasted electric lights, steam heat, an elevator, and elegant furnishings. When the mining boom ended, the hotel gradually fell into despair and has remained largely vacant for decades. The hotel best known ghost story centers around a woman known as Elizabeth. Now, according to local legends, she was allegedly the mistress of a mining magnate named George Wingfield. Well, she became pregnant, and to avoid scandal, Wingfield supposedly confined her to room 109 and chained her to the radiator. Now, she either died during childbirth or was murdered. Some versions claim that her infant was thrown into a nearby mine shaft. Now, there's no historical evidence confirming this story, and historians generally regard it as local folklore rather than documented fact. However, it remains the hotel's most enduring ghost legend. Now, when investigators visit, they have reported apparitions of a woman in white, crying, believing to be coming from room 109, believed to be Elizabeth, children's voices, phantom cigar smoke, shadowy figures, doors slamming, finding cold spots, observing objects moving, hearing footsteps, and EVPs. And if you don't know what EVPs are, they're unexplained electronic voice phenomenons. And you can usually get them on like a cassette recorder or, a digital recorder. Now, right across the street, you guys, from the Goldfield Hotel is Goldfield High School. Now, visitors that have reported investigating the high school, they hear footsteps in the empty hallways, classroom doors opening by themselves, shadowy figures, voices of children, laughter, and unexplained lights. Let's see what else we got here. Now we're going to go to, and I hope I'm saying this right, Tunopa. I hope I'm saying that right. Tunopa. Tunopa is one of the best places in Nevada for paranormal episodes because, again, it blends real mining history with documented tragedies, ghost legends, UFO lore, and one of the darkest night skies in the United States. Now, unlike Virginia City, Tonopah has more isolated, eerie atmosphere that naturally lends itself to more stories of the unexplained. Roughly halfway between Las Vegas and Reno, this town, again, was built upon silver. It was marked by hardship. The most significant tragedy occurred in 1911. That year, a devastating fire broke out in the Belmont mine. 17 miners lost their life. It remains one of Nevada's most worst mining disasters. Today, the site includes a memorial honoring those who had died. Some visitors report an overwhelming feeling of sadness while standing there. Others claim to hear distant voices carried by the wind. No scientific evidence links these experiences to paranormal activity, yet for many families whose ancestors worked in these mines, the stories remain deeply, deeply personal. Now, the Mizpah Hotel is also called the home of the Lady in Red. Built in 1907, this hotel once was the tallest building in Nevada and the social center of the booming silver mining economy. Its most famous legend is the Lady in Red. Now, according to local lore, the young woman was allegedly murdered on the 5th floor. Some visitors say she was strangled by a jealous lover. Others claim that she was killed by her husband after being caught with another man. Her identity has never been conclusively established, and the story exists in several versions. Now, guests and staff, they've reported a woman in red dress walking the hallways. They hear whispering voices. They come across cold spots. And they also smell perfume. One thing that is really, really weird is that pearls, the things made by oysters, mysteriously appear in guest rooms. This is often described as the Lady in Red's calling card. The elevator door opens on empty floors, and children's laughter and reports of phantom miners are in the basement. Now, this, when I was reading about this actually kind of freaked me out because who in the chat, okay, who in the chat knows two of the things that I'm afraid of the most? Anybody know? Okay, it's not spiders, but that's one of them. Nope. Not your sister, Mitch. Not snakes. Oh, come on, you guys. I know you've heard me talk about this. One more guess. If one of these things came up behind me, I would, as an adult, I would punch it as hard as I could. No, I love Sasquatch. All right, guys, prepare to laugh. If you didn't know this or you can't remember it, clowns. I can't stand clowns. Hate them. Hate them. So when you go to Tonopah, okay, you go there, they have a clown motel. It's America's scariest hotel. The Clown Motel sits directly beside the old Tonopah Cemetery and contains thousands of ghost figurines collected from around the world. Its eerie combination of clown theme, decor, and the proximity to a cemetery has made it an international destination for paranormal enthusiasts. Reported activity is shadowy figures, knocking on doors, footsteps in empty hallways, whispering voices, objects moving, EMF spikes that are reported by some investigators, and aberrations in specific rooms. Now, no discussion of Haunted Nevada would be complete without mentioning this weird roadside attraction. Some people say that it's charming, but from others, it's unsettling even from checking in. When people have checked in and have gone to their rooms, they hear unexplained knocks. The lights turn off and on. They see apparitions in the cemetery. They even say that they have strange dreams during the night. Now, whether those are experiences are influenced by the motel's unusual atmosphere, it's possible, but still, it remains. Its reputation has made it one of Nevada's most recognizable paranormal destinations. So, you guys, I just wanted to say thank you so much for tonight, you guys. Really. I can't I can't thank you enough. One thing that we're going to cover again here is the missing time. I mentioned that earlier. Missing time, among some more unusual reports associated with Nevada are experiencing involvements that witnesses sometimes describe missing time. And there are a few examples. One couple driving through central Nevada recalled watching an unusually bright object low on the horizon. They expected to pass it within a few minutes. Instead, the next thing they clearly remember is that they remembered was arriving nearly 60 miles further down the road. Their dashboard clock suggested far more time had passed than earlier that either remembered. Some people are saying, well, you were tired. You probably just don't remember driving that. They could have simply lost track of time. Those possibilities, they certainly can't be ruled out. Yet similar accounts have appeared throughout Nevada for decades, particularly near remote military test range. No single explanation fits every report. Yeah, DK, you're not the only one, man. You're not the only one. I've had people on the show that are talking about missing time. Now, what you guys, we've talked about these when we did 50 States of California, the night watchers. Across Nevada's desert, occasional witnesses describe seeing solitary figures standing on distant ridgelines. The descriptions vary. Some appear human, others appear unusually tall, and few reports mention reflective eyes illuminating by headlights. Unlike traditional Bigfoot reports, these creatures rarely leave evidence behind. They simply watch, and then they disappear. Whether these people are people, wildlife viewed under unusual lighting conditions, or something entirely different, still remains unknown. Then you have these strange sounds of the desert. The Nevada desert has a voice of its own. Strong winds echo through narrow canyons. Rock formations amplify distant sounds. Coyotes, foxes, owls, mountain lions, all of them can produce vocalizations unfamiliar to many listeners. Yet some campers insist they've heard noise that they cannot identify. Metallic humming, low vibrations, deep booming sounds. Researchers have proposed natural geological activities, distant mining operations, military exercises, and atmospheric acoustics as possible sources. Even today, not every report has a definitive answer. Now, I'll leave you with this last account regarding these sounds, these noises. One story shared among local residents come from a rancher whose family had worked the same property for generations. Late one night, while checking fences, he noticed an orange glow moving silently above a ridge line. Expecting to see a helicopter, he waited for the sound, but none came. The light descended slowly behind the hill. When he reached the area several minutes later, there was nothing there. There was no vehicle, there was no camp, no aircraft, only silence. The rancher never claimed that it was extraterrestrial. He simply said, "I've worked this land my whole life. I've never seen anything like it." It's a reminder that some things are more compelling when the reports come from people making no extraordinary claim, only describing what they had experienced. So, here's the question. Why Nevada? Why does Nevada continue to generate stories like these? Part of the answer may simply be the geography. Nevada contains vast expanses of undeveloped land. The mountains, the valleys, the deserts all create unusual weather conditions and extraordinary visibility. It's also home to military training ranges, where advanced aircraft have been tested for decades. Add to the rich indigenous traditions, boomtown histories, ghost towns, isolated highways, and generations of eyewitness accounts. And it's easy to see why Nevada occupies such a unique place in the world of the unexplained. Now, my final question is this. We've explored monsters beneath waters, Bigfoot in the mountains, secret military installations, ghosts of the Old West, mysterious lights, and encounters that defy easy explanation. Talking through all of this, and if I can get your attention just for the moment here, I think this really means a lot here. Did we prove that cryptids exist? No, we didn't. Did we prove that ghosts walk Nevada's abandoned streets? We didn't. Did we uncover evidence that extraterrestrials are hidden behind the fences of Area 51? Nope, we didn't. But perhaps that was never the goal. The purpose of 50 States of Fear has never been to tell you guys what to believe. It's to explore the stories, to examine the history, to hear the witnesses, and to remind ourselves that despite all of our technology, there are still places in America where mysteries refuse to disappear, and Nevada is one of those places. So whether the answer lies in science, history, folklore, or something we've yet to understand, the Silver State continues to change our imagination. And perhaps that's exactly why we keep coming back. I want to thank you guys for joining me on this journey across Nevada. If you've had an unexplained encounter in the Silver State or anywhere else in the country, you guys know I would love to hear your encounter. I would love to hear your story. So you can reach out to me through the Cryptid Podcast by leaving a comment or shoot me an email at thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. Let me know where your encounter could be part of the future episodes. Until next time, you guys, I'm Dano. This is 50 States of Fear. Stay curious, keep searching, and remember, a legend begins with a sighting. All right, you guys, that is 50 States of Fear. Now, before we log off, oh man, 2 hours and 15 minutes. Woo! I see that we got some stuff up here. Josie, thank you so much. Katana's coloring a photo for you, and Lee got you a keychain. All the kids say hello. Hello, kids. I'm sorry it's probably past your bedtime, but thank you so much. I appreciate that. We got Wade Fisher being a member for 14 months. We got Coconut Shrimp with a $4.99. Oklahoma nears closer every day. Yes, it does. And I cannot wait to do Oklahoma. And we have Lolo Lori as a new member. Thank you so much. How would you guys like to hear something that came out of Oklahoma? Love to. Okay, Lolo says love to. Okay, so I have a good buddy of mine named Jimmy, and he does some investigating work. He investigates in Oklahoma. When's the next live show? I want to see you cover the link I sent you. So here's the thing. It all depends on where the link, where it happened. Okay. For 50 States of Fear, if it's going to happen within the next states that I cover, then I'll definitely bring it up. But if it's, I'm on, let's see, Nevada, what comes after Nevada? New one of the news. New Mexico, maybe New Jersey. I think maybe New Jersey. I won't cover it until I bring it up to the 50 States of Fear. Now I do a morning live chat every single morning, Monday through Friday, 6:45 Central Standard Time, and I really don't do pretty much what it is. It's a question and answer. It's a Q&A for like an hour. And we talk about pretty much everything. So, Puerto Rico is going to be part of it. True. Trust me. So anyway, this is an audio, and this was taken in Oklahoma, and it was taken in an area that they call, I believe that they call Xanadu. So check this out. Let me know what you guys think. What did you guys think of that? Now, at first you kind of hear what sounded like an elk bugle. And then you hear the coyotes. And then you hear what we believe was a Sasquatch or multiple Sasquatch sounding off. And it just got crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. It's one of my most favorite pieces of audio that I have. It's amazing. I have more. You guys want to hear more from Xanadu? Nope, you guys don't want to hear anymore. All right, I guess I'll close the show out unless you want to hear more. Oh, okay, we got yes. See there, I forget. There's like a 30-second delay. All right, here's some more from Xanadu. Here we go. Ready?
I want to do my call.
What do you guys think of that one? I got another one. Here's this one.
Pretty interesting. That's why I like it. Pretty not.
And then one more. Now, this one was taken, I believe they call it the Area 51 of Oklahoma.
I heard. Ooh. That's a different sound.
All right. So, you guys, that's what I have for tonight. Now, that last whoop we heard on that last one, I asked Jimmy, I go, Jimmy, how far away was that? Like 50 yards, something like that? He's like, no, try 50 feet. He goes, that thing crept up onto our campsite. Yeah, the whoop. Yep, the last one. So, let's see here. You know, guys, I haven't done it in a long time. Should I play a song? Want an upbeat song before I get out of here? Let's see. Have I ever heard? Oh, I've definitely heard howls before and yells. Absolutely. One that I heard, and Daryl Adams was gracious enough to share audio with me. Was something. Let's see if I can find it. I think it was this one. That's what I've heard. I've heard that before. And then I've heard something like this. Let's see if I can find it here. Let's see if this is it. Hold on one second here.
All right, brother.
If you guys heard it was like ooh, 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 ooh. I've heard something similar to that. And I've heard something similar to that. You want a song? Okay. We'll do an upbeat song, a fun one. Kind of get your blood going a little bit. All right. Do we want to do Johnny Flanagan? Y'all want to hear Johnny Flanagan? All right. We'll rock out to some Johnny Flanagan. All right, here we go, guys. And after that song gets done playing, I'm going to close out the show. So before I do that, you guys, I just want to say thank you so much for every single person that comes in and out of the chat today. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. This has been a long one for us, you guys. I haven't done one this long in a long time. So may God's blessings reach you guys and be with you and your family. May he bring you guys peace and healing and love and strength and courage throughout your days. And I truly appreciate every single one of you guys. And I thank him for my wife and my children, my grandchildren, my family, my friends. So you guys have a wonderful night. Let's play some Johnny Flanagan, and then we'll call it a night. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate everything you guys do for us. Thank you so much. And guys, don't forget to go back when this is done, because you'll be able to view it again if you want to. And if you guys if you have any critiques or anything like that, please leave it in the comments once it gets done posting. And give it a like and share it around if you guys would, okay? I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, guys. Here we go with some Johnny Flanagan.
Johnny Flanagan was a tough son of a bitch, standing 5'5", mean as a switch, hands of granite and a jaw like steel, quick with a right hook and quicker to heel. Down on the docks of Boston town, he'd shoot his cigar while the rain came down, hauling crates from dawn till dark, crossing the sea in the rusted barges parked. After the whistle blew at the end of the day, Johnny and the boys all stumbled away, straight to O'Malley, smoke in the air, with whiskey on the breath and salt in the hair. Hey Johnny Flanagan, raise your glass tonight, Boston Harbor's roaring under pale moonlight. came hard and the years rolled by. Still Johnny walked with fire in his eyes, scar on his cheek and blood on his knuckles, laughing at pain while the whole world buckled. They say one night in the freezing rain, Johnny never made it home again. But down by the harbor late at night, you can still hear him singing when the fog grows white. Hey Johnny Flanagan, raise your glass tonight. The old docks echo underneath the city lights. Sing loud, stand tall, let the bastards drown. Ghost of the waterfront still stomping around. Whoa, pain after pint he go, when would he stop? Still nobody knows. With a wink of his eye and a thumb of his nose, into Boston's night Johnny goes. Whoa, pain after pint he go. Whoa, pain after pint he go. Hey!
All right, guys, that's the show for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful night. Be excellent to everybody. Be excellent to each other. Be excellent to yourself. And remember, a legend begins with the sighting. I'll see you on the next show, guys. Good night. And just like that, the night begins to close in. The fire burns a little lower. The woods grow quiet again. But if you've learned anything tonight, it's that silence doesn't mean you're alone. Somewhere out there, beyond the tree line, down that forgotten road, deep in the places maps don't like to go, something is still moving, still watching, still waiting. I want to thank each and every one of you for spending your night with me here on the Cryptid Podcast. Whether you joined us live, shared your thoughts in the chat, or you're catching this later, you're part of this journey now. And remember, these stories don't belong to fear. They belong to the witnesses, to the hunters who stopped hunting, to the hikers who never went back, to the people who looked into the dark and realized the dark looked back. If you've had an encounter with Bigfoot, Dogman, or something you can't explain, your story matters. And one day, it may be told right here on the Cryptid Podcast. Until next time, keep your eyes on the tree line, trust your instincts, and never ignore that feeling that tells you you're not alone. I'm Dano, and this is the Cryptid Podcast. Good night, everyone.